Trapped in Tar: Fossils from the Ice Age by Carolyn Arnold. In the shadow of skyscrapers, a model of an imperial mammoth appears to bellow with rage as it struggles to free itself from the sticky tar below the surface of the water. Like saber-toothed cats, giant ground sloths, and many other ancient animals, real mammoths are extinct. Long ago, these animals roamed the grassy plain that is now the busy city of Los Angeles. Then, as now, pools of tar sometimes seeped to the surface of the earth. Water often hid the dangerous tar from view, and thirsty animals came to drink. Little did they know that what looked like a refreshing pool could become their death trap. Large deposits of oil lie under much of Southern California. In some places, the oil seeps upward through cracks in the earth's crust. When the oil evaporates, it leaves pools of asphalt or tar. In cool weather, the tar hardens and the pools become hidden by a layer of leaves and dust. In summer, the hot sun softens the tar into sticky puddles. A small animal, such as a squirrel or a bird, could become stuck when the tar coated its fur or feathers. When a larger animal, such as a mammoth, waded into the water, its weight made it sink. Its feet became stuck in the tar below, and unable to get out, it eventually died. Then meat-eating animals such as wolves, saber-toothed cats, and giant vultures would attack the animal. They too often slipped into the tar and died. As the flesh of the dead animals rotted away, the bodies floated on the surface of the tar. Later, when the bones became soaked with tar, they sank to the bottom. The deposits of asphalt that trap these ancient animals are the Rancho La Brea tar pits. Brea is a Spanish word meaning tar. Once California was part of Mexico, and the land around the tar pits was called Rancho La Brea, or Ranch of Tar. Later, California became part of the United States, and the land belonged to Captain G. Allen Hancock, who operated oil wells there. Today, the oil wells are gone, and the land is a county park named after Captain Hancock. In the park are both the tar pits and the George C. Page Museum of La Brea Discoveries. Asphalt is sticky. An exhibit inside the museum helps people feel what it might be like to get stuck in tar. Visitors try to lift long steel rods that are immersed in the tar. The tar seems to grab the rods and hold them tight. In the same way, an animal such as a mammoth that stepped into a tar pool found it nearly impossible to escape. The bones and plant remains in Rancho La Brea tar pits are a record of life that existed between 10,000 and 40,000 years ago. Then mammoths, mastodons, saber-toothed cats, lions, wolves, sloths, camels, horses, and many other animals lived in North America. The oldest fossil found so far at Rancho La Brea is 38,000 years old. However, most of the fossils are between 14,000 and 16,000 years old. The fossils in Rancho La Brea tar pits are from a period of Earth's history known as the Ice Age. Then great sheets of ice called glaciers covered much of the northern hemisphere. An ice and land bridge connected Asia and North America. Both people and animals migrated across this bridge. Many different kinds of animals lived near Rancho La Brea. The climate was mild, and food and water were plentiful. When the Ice Age ended about 10,000 years ago, the climate changed. Most of the lakes and streams dried up, and food became scarce. Many of the animals that had once been numerous became extinct. Today, we know about the Ice Age animals because the tar that caused their death also preserved their bones. As the oily tar soaked into the bones, it prevented their decay. Over many years, the tar hardened into a solid block composed of tar, dirt, and fossils. Encased in this protective covering, the buried bones were safe for centuries. Usually we think of fossils as living things that have been turned to stone. However, a fossil is any part of plant or animal, or even the impression of a plant or animal that has been preserved in some way. For hundreds of years, the Native Americans and early European settlers living in California used the tar at Rancho La Brea as a glue for baskets and tools. They also used it to waterproof boats and the roofs of houses. Tar was dug out of the ground at Rancho La Brea and hauled by wagon to wherever it was needed. Although some people noticed bones embedded in the tar, no one paid much attention to them. Then in 1906, fossils from Rancho La Brea, which included those of a giant ground sloth, were shown to Dr. John C. Merriam at the University of California. He realized their importance and arranged with Captain Hancock, who owned the land around the tar pits, to remove the bones. Early excavations were simply holes dug in the ground. The scientists removed the largest bones in the pits and threw away everything else. They took the bones they saved to the Los Angeles County Natural History Museum. There, they cleaned them and assembled them into whole skeletons. The skeletons were then displayed in the museum. Over 100 pits have been dug in Hancock Park since the early 1900s. Most of them were covered over when the park was landscaped in the 1950s. From the beginning, as each new pit was dug, it was given a number. Currently, you can see 6 pits. These include the Lake Pit, which used to be an asphalt quarry, as well as Pit 91, where visitors can watch people dig for fossils. Today, the excavations are much more careful than the early digs. Each section of the pit is marked. The location of each fossil is precisely noted and recorded, and everything is saved. To prevent the sides of the pit from collapsing, heavy boards are held against the walls with metal bars. When needed, new boards are added at the bottom. Each year, the pit becomes approximately 1/2 foot deeper. Like most fossil deposits, those at Pit 91 form a large cone shape that becomes narrower as the pit gets deeper. The oldest fossils are found in the lowest layers. Scientists want to know what is found in the pit as well as where it is found. The bottom of the pit is divided into sections of 3 by 3 feet. When any bone over a 1/2 inch long is revealed, it is measured and photographed and placed before it is removed. Everything that is taken from the pit is placed in large cans. Each can is filled and hauled to the top of the pit. Then it is stored inside the museum until the material can be cleaned and sorted. So many fossils have been excavated recently that the scientists will need many years to study all of them. Outdoor excavation at Rancho La Brea is done for only a few months each year. Recently, however, an indoor excavation project was begun that allows people to work year-round. Between 1906 and 1977, all the material found at the Rancho La Brea tar pits was kept in the Los Angeles County Natural History Museum in Exposition Park. As more and more material was found, it began to overflow the storage rooms at the museum. George C. Page, a Los Angeles businessman, was fascinated with the Rancho La Brea fossils. In 1973, he donated money to build a new museum just for the La Brea discoveries. The museum would also be a center for scientific research. In 1975, as bulldozers began to dig the foundation for the new museum, they unearthed a huge deposit of bones. Everyone knew that to excavate these bones at the site would take a long time. This might delay the construction of the museum for years. Instead, they decided to move the asphalt in large chunks and excavate the bones later. Each portion was cut out, wrapped in a sturdy plaster coating, and stored until the new museum and laboratory were finished. Today, visitors can watch through windows as these bone deposits are excavated inside the museum laboratory. People who study the remains of ancient plants and animals are called paleontologists. Much of the work at Rancho La Brea is done by specially trained volunteers. Some of them are students of paleontology. Others are people who just want to know more about our ancient heritage. By identifying and studying these bones and plants, paleontologists find they can guess what events might have taken place thousands of years ago. For example, One block of tar and bones contained the skull of a saber-toothed cat and parts of the skeleton of 2 baby horses. Probably the horses became stuck in the tar and then were attacked by the cat. These ancient horses, although similar to present-day horses, became extinct at the end of the Ice Age. After a bone is removed from the tar and dirt in which it was embedded, it must be cleaned. First, loose dirt is brushed or scrubbed off. Then, the bone is soaked and washed in a solvent, a liquid that dissolves the tar. The tar stains the bones brown, so even after cleaning, the bones remain dark. The clean bones are then labeled and set aside for identification and cataloging.